They're making a fortune.
They're making a fortune. And if you believe what we hear from Dave Meltzer, so is Tony Khan. And let's now go to the wonderful world of Tony Khan and AEW Dynamite.
Hoo boy. I I may set a record here today. I may be speechless. I don't know what to say. I have voluminous notes, and part of the reason, the opposite situation from the WWE in every way. They're making money hand over fist, and the people are chanting and cheering, and they're going crazy for almost nothing. Over here, you cannot. I'm writing this down just to be able to explain what happened because it's so convoluted, involving so many people. It runs together that are doing the same basic things over and over that it's almost impossible to decipher what's going on unless you do take voluminous, copious notes. And even then, you don't really understand. You can convey what happened, but trying to... You used a word before we went on the air. The show is fascinating now. Because it's...
In the wrong way, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating to watch this in that they not only don't have any idea apparently what the problem is, but they're doing more of it, of the problem. And it's like he's just letting everybody come up with their own shit, and they do it independent of the rest of the show and what may be going on. And I mean, there's multiple vehicular homicide attempts or whatever the fuck in every segment with different people. How does anything register? It doesn't. That's the problem. They were in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and that will be important later on, ladies and gentlemen. And Bridgeport, when I lived there in the late 90s, up in that area of Connecticut, Bridgeport was not a well thought of neighborhood. Remember the opening of Monday Night Raw when they had looked like bombed out buildings and the chain link fences with the dogs barking and the vicious wild dogs on the other side and all that type of thing on the video of the open of Raw? Do you remember that?
Of course.
They shot that in Bridgeport without staging anything. They just went to fucking Bridgeport. So now they got this big arena. But the people I see are still afraid to go out at night. Apparently, either that or this was this the surliest bunch of fans? They were like, my God, they had come in for shelter from a hurricane or something, and this stuff unfolded in front of them.
What we heard directly from people who went there was that the crowd were AEW fans who were upset with the product and had no problem just shitting on it or sitting there and being dead. The atmosphere was dead. There were a couple matches where they kind of came up a little bit towards the finish, but we heard it was a dead crowd.
And if
it was their fans. It wasn't like, interlopers came in and, wasn't our real people. It was their fans, and they just weren't feeling any of this shit.
They weren't smelling what was being cooked in front of them. But if Ric Flair had not gone, whoo, when he chopped people, the decibel level on this show would have gone down about 75%, wouldn't it? Because that was, in a lot of cases, that's what they had. But it's odd. I'll try to explain what happened, folks, and then maybe you can ascertain or assign a description to this fever dream. The first tag team match was Christian Cage and Hangnail Page against our old friends Jen and Juice. We finally got to see Juice wrestle. And boy, he's the only one I'd like to see more of. And they use him like the WWE used to use Kaiser, a complete stooge sidekick who just, you can't take seriously. He's the one they cut off. He's the one they bump around. You see where I'm going with this. And when they tagged him in this match, he got in and threw 5 punches and they cut him off. And at this point, this is the first match, and these guys they're pushed. They've been used, right? The crowd looked like a painting. It looked at Still Life of AEW Crowd by Whistler's Mother or whatever. And they got a long set of heat on Juice, who is not barely established as a babyface. And when he was a heel, the people kind of liked him because of his look and his personality and that he was a heel. Now that he and Light Switch are baby faces for the flimsiest of reasons, the same appeal is not there. Plus, he's a flunky. At one point, old Nick Plain and Christian's group tried to interfere on the floor, and Hook just ran up out of the crowd behind him and put him in a choke and drug him over the rail, and they fought off, and you never saw either one of them again. You didn't even see flashing lights, a police report being filed outside. He never came back in to go, "Mama, Mama." I saw somebody on Twitter posted the clip of that video and said, "Would whoever dropped their children off at the arena please come pick them up? They're disrupting the wrestling show." And when they fought off, by the way, Brian, did you notice they went, here is Hook is wailing at Hook, who came in a hoodie, right? And he's in street clothes. Nobody would have known who he was had the announcers not identified him. And he's wailing the shit out of Nick, and they're running through the entranceway, and the building security, it just, some old women are just laughing and standing still and kind of smirking. Or one of them turned their back like, "Oh, don't hit me accidentally as you go by." They're not even trying to move out of the 50-year-old fucking women, not trying to move out of the way.
Hey, real quick, I'll bring it up here because I've noticed it a lot lately. Maybe, actually, I don't even think it has anything to do with the dead crowds. I think it's just the way they're doing it. That one security guard, the big guy with the bald head.
Yes.
You see him in everything. He's running with the heels. He needs to like lay back a little bit, I think.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Here I go again. These indie-minded guys that the only experience they've had in their careers in the crowds has been in the rec centers and the indie shows where it's such a big boost to everything if we fight all over the building. Now that they're working for a fucking billionaire and they're on national television, I am sure that the insurance, it would, you know what, now that I think about it, it'd be a tickle to know if Tony Khan's insurance company knows what kind of shit they do out in their crowds. But to potentially, hopefully eliminate the liability of is somebody getting involved, or more likely at this point, since they have no heat and everybody's laughing at them accidentally backhanding somebody and knocking Granny's dentures out, they've got to have that guy. But here's another idea. Don't do all this shit every fucking show, every segment. There was one match they never got in the ring. We're going to get to it in a second. But so they're gone. We'll be back in the arena more here coming up. But Juice tagged White, and he made a comeback on Page by trading forearms and chops. And Jay White punched Adam Page 6 times in the head and went to shoot him off, and Adam Page reversed it. What were we just talking about here a little while ago? But the point, the heel didn't take one bump for the babyface's comeback, and finally Jay White got a leg drag and took him down that way. Adam Page is fucking rotten. He was a better babyface than he is a heel, because at least he had a heel to somewhat call a fucking match. But either that or he just says, "Fuck Jay White. This guy's a jobber." He gets the tag. He comes in. They trade evenly. And then Jay White punches him in the head 6 times, and he reverses him and never takes one goddamn bump for the guy's comeback. So then, finally, after all the momentum was lost, old Jay White got a couple of DDTs and tagged Juice in. And then the babyfaces beat up the heel 2-on-1 with 3 or 4 big moves while the referee stood and gawked at him. And then Jay White gave a brainbuster to Page and Juice covered him. And the referee dropped down to, instead of telling, Jay left on his own. Instead of the referee said, Jay, you got to get out of here. He just dropped down and count. And it was a 2 count. So now you have 2 baby faces beating up one heel in front of the fucking referee, and they still can't beat him. And then Page beat up both of the baby faces by himself. And then they got to the spot where Page and Juice tried to both get on the top rope so they could do the flying wingy dingy. And as it's impossible for both guys to get all their feet on the top rope and hold on to anything but each other, which looks so phony to begin with, right? It's just, they're trying to teeter-totter up there with this guy that's trying to do them damage. Oh, here, let me balance up here and help you so you can fling me off this thing on my head. I wouldn't want you to drop me before you kill me. And Juice slips off, but not all the way, just his feet slipped. So he climbed back up into Page's arms so Page could give him the fucking SOS sack of shit slam off the top rope. 2 count. And then they did a back and forth with all 4 of them while the referee, whoever he may be, stood there and stared some more. And then Juice had Cage beat, but Nick's mom drew the referee so that Pip Sabian could hit Juice in the head with the contract case apparatus. And he fell into Page's dead eye 1, 2, 3. So a bad finish with sloppy execution, and they beat the only guy that we really are interested in. What are your thoughts in this fiasco?
You know, I think this is the problem with AEW. Here you have 2 of the, I guess you could say, the top heels in the company, Adam Page and Christian Cage. Not all the wrestlers' names rhyme, folks. But you have Adam Page and Christian Cage. Then you have Jay White, who's been pushed to that level and it really hasn't worked. And Juice Robinson, who, it's that thing where we could say how much we like him over and over again. After a while, they keep booking him like this and beating him. He's the job guy on the team. You know, after a while, you don't want to see him anymore if that's the way they're going to book him.
Well, book him, Dano.
They're booking him out of the reasons people like him.
Yes, exactly. We can't have anybody actually appealing to the audience. Let's fucking confuse that issue. But Brian, that was just a prelude to the more insanity that's gonna come a lot. We have come now to the time in our program where Tony Khan needs to hire a construction company. Because the people he's got doing his handy, I can loan him the Monroes. I'm laying them off early this year because of the impending downturn in the United States and eventually the global economy. So I'm cutting elective spending. I could give Tony the Monroes if he can't find competent construction professionals. Did you see the fake wall?
I did, but for AEW standards, this was a good fake wall. We've seen really, really bad ones. I think this was maybe the best of the 2, 3, 4. How many times has it happened?
But I see every time they keep trying to follow my suggestions on how to make it not look so fucking phony. But I'm going to have to give them some more because once again, they've dropped the ball here. And, well, first off, by the way, let the people know, Renee Moxley Good was in the back with Mercedes Moan and Camille. And now Camille's Christmas goose has been cooked before Thanksgiving. She is dead in the water, as the boys used to say, because they've completely fucked it up now. Now, Camille has her arm in a sling, but she's still carrying Mercedes' shit, and Mercedes is barking orders at her, and yeah, you dumb shit. And so the whole cool bodyguard thing is dead. The whole fucking striking giant athletic woman is now reduced to being a fucking stooge. And the only way they were ever going to get any value whatsoever out of this untalented shell of a human being, Mercedes Moon, was to have some of this dichotomy with Camille and get her over, and they've killed it. And Mercedes sent Camille into the locker room. Yeah, you get on in there and clean my toilet or whatever, I don't know. And then she droned on doing a promo about Chris Statlander until Statlander shows up behind her in the hallway. And as Mercedes turns around, she starts yelling for Camille. And Camille comes out, and Statlander just runs Camille into the fucking wall without even stopping walking. Just grabbed her like a bump, and down goes Camille, and she's still moving. And she gets a fight with Mercedes. And Camille tries to get back in and help Mercedes, and Statlander tackles Mercedes and Camille through another fake wall. And they tried this time, they shot it tighter so you couldn't see off the edges, and then there was nobody jumping out of the fake room behind it this time like there was last time. But Brian, for one thing, there was 4 feet between the studs, and I've done a lot of remodeling projects over the last few years. 18 inches is the law. You got to have a stud every 18 inches. Or in Mercedes' case, possibly more often. We don't know, but at least every 18 inches. And they just went through a sheet of drywall that was 4 feet fucking. They walled off a hallway. And they shot it tight. But then, when they went through the drywall, Brian, how many rooms do you know that only have a wall on one side?
Not too many rooms.
Because they only went through one sheet of drywall. And you saw the 2 befores that they put up and they went through. Or didn't go through, they went past. But there was no drywall on the other side. And it opened up into a room that apparently was 4 feet wide and 8 feet long with no furniture in it and a real door on the other end. They just walled up the L curve in a goddamn hallway. Just so they could go through the... What is their fascination with people going through walls? So that was the wall. Just another brick in the wall. Just another prick in the wall.
So when I told you off air before that the show's becoming utterly fascinating, this is a great example of it. Because it kind of feels like a little bit of WCW at the end, a little bit of TNA at all sorts of points. But it has a certain feeling, and then everything is wrong. Just everything. Here's an example. We've talked about it before. Diesel, Sid Vicious, in your case, Hercules Hernandez and Big Bubba Rogers. Killer Kyle too, I guess, technically.
Technically.
You know, we've seen the big bodyguard. We've never seen the klutz big bodyguard until Camille. That's when they decided to have the klutz bodyguard character. How many times have we seen Camille grab her arm and yell, ow, in the last few weeks?
About as many times I've grabbed my head and said, ow.
And how many weeks of TV did they just do all these things like in the back one day? Or is this something they're doing on the road, these segments? But boy,
I don't know. I expect them next week they'll be putting itching powder in Camille's fucking trunks, and she'll be.
It's fascinating. You watch it unfold, and you're like, where is this going up? It went right there. And it's
it's gonna be so, and it's gone. So, but I got to get to the next one. I got to get it because this one, Tony Schiavone calls out. Well, doesn't call out. He didn't want to fight. Tony's past the point of fighting, but he introduces to speak to the world, Will Osprey. And boy, remember when the people were going batshit? And even a few weeks ago in certain places, and a couple months ago especially, and Osprey, and he came out, and they were like, yeah, he's here, and he started talking, and the crowd didn't care. They started chanting, but they were chanting, ole, 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 ole. And yes, we know that's the chant from across the pond and it pertains to him, but he was speaking at the time about something that he wanted them to listen to, and they just went into business for themselves. This wasn't on cue. This wasn't at the spot they're trying to incite it at. This was just, because he wouldn't shut up and milk it. He just kept going. And he kicked Tony out of the ring, and he called out Kyle Fletcher so they could have a talk. They're old friends. And they play the music, and now out comes Kyle, and now he's dressed all in black, and he's got more tattoos on his arm. Remember, his last new look lasted like 6 weeks with the boy band blonde hair and all the colors. And now he looks like a fucking
Randy Orton. He looks like a bootleg Randy Orton now.
I don't know. I was thinking teenage skinhead from Sydney. But, you know...
hey, where can I rent that film?
He'll steal it. He'll steal all the material. And Kyle talked his way down the aisle. And as he was getting in the ring, and the people were booing, but I don't know whether it was the Dominic Mysterio booing, or just booing for real, like, oh, Christ, he's going to talk. But and they couldn't even be serious at the start, as when he gets in the ring, Osprey says, well, before, we do anything, I've been in Don Callis's meetings, and I want you to drop whatever's in your back pocket. And Cal pulls a screwdriver out, a neon yellow screwdriver, and dispenses with it. God, is anybody ever going to actually stab somebody with that fucking thing?
Well, it did land in a way that I've never seen anyone. It was like a perfect landing. It stuck right into the ground.
Well, yeah. When Osprey flung it down, it stuck into the mat. But again, that illustrates that every time they hit somebody with it, they hit them with the handle. Anyhow, they had a good long talk, did Kyle and Osprey, about how they lived together and were great friends and partners, and Osprey helped Kyle come there, and everything was great. But now, with what's going on here, Kyle, you know where I live, you know where I work out, you've been to my son's school, and it scares the crap out of me and my wife. He's trying to make this fucking teenage twink sound like Max Cady. And what the...
I'm scared, bruv. I'm scared. You know where the school is.
How is it escalated to that point that he thinks this guy is going to kidnap his child?
Hey, who's that new handyman at the school? The guy with the screwdriver. Oh, no!
Oh, it's a Phillips head. So, and then Kyle tells Osprey, I know you're never going to believe this, Brian, but he said, you didn't do all that for me. You did it for yourself because you were jealous and selfish and you wanted to keep me down. Has that not been the bone of contention of every former friend in AEW land?
It's like the AEW form of hazing. It's booking hazing for AEW wrestlers.
But now here, I'm going to say something good about it. Here. Hold on. Osprey fired up and he cut a promo on Kyle that I can't say the promo was good, but he answered him. If this material wasn't shit, his delivery and emotion might have gotten something over here. But they're still talking about nonsense. Nobody gives a shit, right? And then... But finally, remember, I said somebody needs to produce him for an American audience. Osprey asked, Kyle said, I've done this and I've done that. What have you done? And then he said, sod all, lad. And the people were like, read it. Speak American, mate. What do you think the percentage of the people in Bridgeport, Connecticut that understood the phrase sod all, lad was?
I shan't have a guess, you wanker.
I would say 5 to 7% of the people in that building, and that's a small number. And by the way, if you want to look up how many people they had in this goddamn airplane hangar, because boy, it was a surly bunch. But So now that they're doing sod all, lad, you haven't done nothing. That's like the you haven't done nothing. So Kyle says, I'm going to surpass your every accomplishment, and I want to prove it at Full Gear. They're challenging for the match of the shows in 10 days from the fucking date of the television program. And he challenges Osprey, and Osprey agrees since he's Mr. Pay-Per-View. And then he goes into a story. This is going a while, friends. He goes into the story that he was watching Kyle shave his head and have a meltdown when he was sitting on the couch holding his son's hand. But then he looked down and he realized that he couldn't feel his hand, and he couldn't feel his son holding his hand because he was numb from the Tiger Driver 91. They've always got to say that as opposed to any other previous year's version. Whatever the fuck. And he's going to get back at Kyle for that at Full Gear because he's taken that away from him, that he can't feel his son's hand or whatever the fuck. But the point is, at least he ended it, right? Oh, no. Because Kyle couldn't stop. He had to answer that back, sounding like a pissed off Roddy McDowell. Every bit as physically intimidating, too.
Cornelius.
And he killed the oomph that Osprey had by making his own statement. And then, they've already prefaced this, they didn't trust that either one of them was coming alone. So they said, well, I've got friends. Well, I've got friends too. So then Brian Cage and Lance Archer pop in. But Osprey's not worried because I've got friends too. And here comes Powerhouse Hobbs and Mark Davis. How did Hobbs get stuck with this? First, he comes back last week and doesn't even get the attention put on him. He's just an afterthought. And now, what? And Mark Davis, could he look any more like, Dan Tucker? Just a regular fucking sod, lad. And he's a sad lad, I'll tell you that. And they got in a big six-way, but Davis wouldn't hit Fletcher. And then, seriously, folks, we're not talking about, and then after commercial break, this is all happening. Just on and on.
What a description. This is all happening.
This is all happening, just one thing after another. All six of these guys fought off and left the arena in seconds, except for Lance Archer, who for some reason didn't feel motivated to leave the ring until they started playing Roderick Strong's music. And then Archer goes to the entranceway, so he's going to cut Roderick Strong off when he comes out because now they're supposed to have a Falls Count Anywhere match. Do you want to make any comments on, because this again, we haven't gone to commercial, but this is going to take a dramatic right turn. Do you have any comments on Osprey and Fletcher and their efforts here?
Well, let me just say, this isn't the first time in recent weeks at AEW it's just gone from like one of these big angles into the next match, like as everything's happening. So this is like a new thing for them. I thought there were points of Fletcher and Osprey where they were actually good, and you had to deal with a lot with that crowd because they didn't give a shit. And I would almost rather them catcall the wrestlers than just sit there silently like they're watching a play. And there were moments it was good, but it went way too long. To the point where you're like, why are you two still talking? And again, this guy almost killed him, He almost killed me. Come out, talk to me. What?
Yeah, let's sit down and go over this point by point.
And I know you have a screwdriver. Take it out.
Well, is that a screwdriver in your pocket, or did you come to talk to me? And also, you mentioned catcalling. We'll get there. We will get there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kool-Aid.
My kind of cats.
But first, we've got Lance Archer standing at the entryway waiting on Roderick Strong when Roddy comes out of the tunnel on the other side and whacks him in the back with a kendo stick. And as he did, he whacks him in the back and he slipped on that ramp surface and fell down and then starts after him with the fucking stick. And The corpse referee is out there, so we know this is going to be all the way garbage wrestling. And again, they've been the other segment, they've all fought off and they talked us to death. So now they figure, well, we'll give them action. So the action they give us is they fight back through the other entrance tunnel into the backstage, what one would think is the gorilla area, except Gorilla's not even there. It was just the backstage area. It was pitch black. There were no lights on. And they were taking bumps, but you couldn't see anything. And Sockface was calling, oh my God, a choke slam on the table, because he was in the meeting. So he was having, for the viewers who can't see, the blind viewers, I'm going to narrate for you what's happening. How was he able to see it on his monitor? So finally, after they've done a choke slam and something else, and you can see a little light coming through the curtain. So, by the way, they've smartened people up that their two entrance tunnels completely meet 10 feet apart in the back. But finally, somebody turns like one, like one of those Parcan TV lights or a handheld spotlight on or something, so you can see part of this. And the crowd in the arena, which is just on the other side of the curtain, and you know they're watching this on the screen, deathly silent. They're like, what the fuck? And then they went to a commercial break. And in picture now, because there's no, with the commercial break with the picture in picture, you got the audio of the commercial. So all you see is the picture of what's going on in the arena, and they fought into the arena. And I say fought. They made some half-hearted attempts at fighting in between, staggering around to move from place to place, right? And they got a few 2 counts on the concrete, and every time you would see the camera, the fans behind them are laughing at them. And they're holding their phones up, either taking a picture or shooting video or pointing to the person next to them, going, look at these goofballs. Nobody's even worried about catching a stray backswing. They must think, well, this shit's so phony, I can't possibly be hurt. And then when they come back from the break to the full screen and normal audio, the building is deathly quiet. Lance Archer is up in the camera screaming, trying to get steal a promo. And behind him, nothing. And that's why, can't they all see that they've done this over and over and nobody cares? It's not new anymore. There's a reason why indie wrestling got over with indie crowds, because it wasn't on television and you saw it twice a year. Am I lying?
Well, I think the modern indie fan may go more than 2 times a year, but there's a difference between the stuff that gets over with big audiences and the stuff that is micro booked to a micro audience.
Ring of Honor ran Chicago 3 times a year if they were lucky. And New York got 4. Everything else got fucking 2. If any kind of indie promotion with a budget, they're not running a market more than a few times a year. What, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe? Unless they're drawing a crowd of 150 people, in which case you're not really fighting in a crowd, are you? But it's nonstop. So then suddenly in the middle of this...
It's nonstop with people that aren't in a position where you want to see them. Like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, to use a modern example, like as of this moment. If there was a Falls Count Anywhere match, you could understand it. Because of look at what's happening in this thing.
Yes. Or Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins. Have we seen a single match between Lance Archer and Roddy Strong ever? So the first time we see them, I guess it's because it's the only way it's believable that Roddy would be able to beat Lance Archer. Well, but think about this also. You don't see Falls Count Anywhere matches in the WWE or just constant fighting through the arena in the WWE. They don't want to get sued. And so if it does happen, it stands out. Oh, shit. We don't see this. They must be mad. Whatever. This is just you can't remember all the people that have done this. And then, so they're supposed to be having a match, even if it's Falls Count Anywhere, and suddenly Brian Cage comes out and just starts beating the shit out of Roddy. And then Taven and Bennett come out and start beating the shit out of Archer and Cage. And again, they were fighting 3 feet in front of fans who were laughing at them and taking pictures, and nobody's scared or like backing up, like give them some room. And then Archer grabs Taven, and Archer, because he's got great balance for a big guy. So he steps up on one of the railings, one of the barricades around the floor area. It's like, 6 inches wide, maybe. But he pulls Taven up, and Taven steps up with him and stands there motionless, not trying to get away or to foil the attempts that this madman Archer is making to do harm to him. And finally, 14 seconds, I counted, and Archer chokeslams him onto a bunch of security guards who just ran up there and then were never seen again. And then Roddy is fighting Archer again. Now they're back to a match, and Roddy jumps off the rail with a knee lift and covers him on the floor. 1, 2, 3. So now Roddy got his 3 wins, so he's going into the match at Full Gear with MJF, and you would think Adam Cole, who has his 3rd match later on. So now they're going to make it a 3-way. Where they, well, what the fuck? And they inserted at that point, they inserted, we've been seeing MJF allegedly watching a TV monitor from some mansion in Scarsdale somewhere, right? And sipping a glass of wine and reacting to what's going on. Well,
Scarsdale?
Wherever it may be. We don't know where.
It would be on Long Island, I would have to guess. It's MJF. His whole thing is
Well,
Long
I
Island.
don't know where that's at. Well, I know that Scarsdale.
The Gold Coast.
Scarsdale is where the polo ponies roam free, according to Heyman. But anyway, they insert like a 3-second long shot of MJF sitting there in his mansion watching and smiling enigmatically. And it so obviously doesn't fit it looks like Bela Lugosi's scenes in Plan 9 from Outer Space. Doesn't have any goddamn information.
That's exactly what it is.
So, and then Roddy gets on the microphone. It's not over, folks. Roddy gets on the microphone and goes, Max, at Full Gear, this all ends, and I'm going to finish your ass. And he throws the microphone down, and when he does, there's Take a Shit from behind and just gloms Roddy and knocks a bejesus out of him. And he gets on Roddy and starts hammering him. But Adam Cole's music plays. And Adam Cole comes out and takes his jacket off and starts walking to the ring. I'm like, motherfucker, I hope nobody comes to save me like that. But when Adam Cole slides in, the referee already had Roddy on the floor, and now Adam Cole and Take a Shit started trading forearms. And another referee slid in and called for the bell to start another match. And Jesus Christ, it won't end. It will not end. They're not giving anybody a chance to think about anything.
Who said I know how we'll stop the viewers from leaving? We'll have nothing end. It's like a Monty Python thing, or it's Mr. Show, I guess, a better example. One thing goes right into the next.
Well, and they went right into the next thing. Punches and forearms that looked like shit, and nobody sold any of them. And then, for whatever reason, old Take just staggered backwards to the rope and stood there holding on the top rope, waiting about 5 seconds for Adam Cole to clothesline him over backwards. And they're still playing Adam's music as this fight is going on. And so as Take a Shit is taking the bump, Adam Cole gets to do his boom thing and then his circle and baby. And then they resume the match. And I think we're only 45 minutes into this show. And this thing, it's like, my God. And then their break spot was Take just knocking Cole senseless with a big punch and standing on his face with one foot. They went to the break. But when they came back, Adam Cole was in control. and they fucked up a Blue Thunder bomb, and the pace slowed down, and the people are just dead, and a lot of fake forearms from Adam Cole, which to his credit, Take didn't sell, but he would throw one at Adam Cole and it'd knock him down and out and groveling. I've never seen such goddamn ineffective baby faces. And again, but then you can't. Adam Cole, he can be knocked down with one half-hearted forearm. But then take a shit, foils the Panama Sunrise, hits some kind of reverse Styles Clash thing, and a wheelbarrow suplex and a clothesline, and gets a 2 count on him. But then he's killing Adam. He just beating the shit out of Adam Cole until finally Cole hits the super kick and the Panama Sunrise. And Take rolls out to the floor and reaches under the ring and pulls the diamond ring out from under the apron of the ring. Wouldn't you think that he might have thought an easier place to put a goddamn ring is in your trunks? How did he know he was going to get the opportunity to go under there? Anyway, so this is where they do another one of these finishes that just buries everybody involved. Adam Cole sees Take a shit there on the floor right next to the ring. He's going to walk past the referee to get to him. When he walks past the referee, he slightly shoves the ref, and the referee walks all the way across the ring in the other direction and does double and triple takes back and forth, obviously not looking behind him until Take a shit nails Adam Cole with the ring and rolls in and covers him 1, 2, 3. So now it's not Roddy and Adam Cole versus MJF. It's Roderick Strong versus MJF. Which, again, the fans actually got more behind Roddy in this earlier than they did Adam Cole here.
Yeah, they weren't behind Adam Cole at all.
No, the whole thing is uninteresting and death warmed over. But just MJF is going to be on a pay-per-view and he's wrestling Roderick Strong the way that he has been presented in this instance.
Well, the other thing is, one of the few things I think right now would cause the AEW fans to revolt would be the idea of Takeshita taking a pin from Adam Cole. Because everyone sees what everyone sees with Adam Cole.
Then don't book the match.
I completely agree. Don't book this feud. Let's go a step further. Instead, MJF's coming back from apparently making an Adam Sandler film, so there'll be some money behind that thing, to wrestle Roddy Strong. I'm sure it'll be a great match. But MJF better not do a job to Roddy Strong, and then if Roddy Strong's just going to be wrestling a great match with someone he's going to lose to, and it's apparent that's what it is, I don't know.
Well, but it's not over. It ain't over, Brian. This is still going on. Because now that they've established that it's Roddy versus MJF, they get a shot of MJF back at the mansion, and he's laughing. And then Roderick Strong attacks Take a shit and starts wailing on him, and Take turns around and kicks him right in the balls. And down he goes. And then Take puts the ring back on and goes to hit Roddy, but here comes Kyle O'Reilly and chases him out with a chair. And Take goes to the entranceway where he can be safe, except here comes Ricochet. What is happening? Ricochet super kicks Take, and Take goes ass over tea kettle and jumps up and runs off and leaves his belt behind. What is his title again? Is that the Continental Classic? What?
That's a good question.
Or the North American, or the...
Is it the International?
International. Whatever belt he's got, he left it, and Ricochet picked it up and started to hold it up, but they cut the camera back to the ring where Kyle was helping Roddy up and dusted him off, but Adam Cole offered to shake hands with Kyle O'Reilly, and Kyle wouldn't take it and left the ring. And the announcer going, look at these three back in the ring. You know what this means? Yeah, it means what you kind of should have done at the start. It's too late now. And that was, again, another, how many people were involved in that?
Depends on when you want to say the start was. You talking, is the start of that whole thing the Osprey promo?
I did.
That was the start of it, wasn't it? It was the Osprey promo with Fletcher into the Roddy Strong versus Lance Archer match, which went right into Adam Cole versus Takeshita. It's Mr. Show with Bob and David. One thing right into the next.
Well, it was 9 o'clock on the East Coast. All of that had happened in the first hour. So they've apparently never heard of the old saying, less is more.
And by the way, all throughout the night, they're mentioning, Mox takes over Superstation TBS.
Yes.
Which sounds like a real bad takeover if everyone knows about it and they're advertising it in advance.
Well,
it wasn't like, the NWO's taking over tonight. It was...
Intelligence ferreted out the information. But now, speaking of the takeover, by the way, less is more. And you've heard that old saying. Here lies Lester Moore, shot in the chest by a 44, no less, no more.
I have not heard that, no.
Well, in the back at 9 o'clock, Renee Moxley Good was talking to the Hurt Syndicate, and MVP said, where did you get your journalism degree? And then he put Bobby Lashley over and interviewed him by himself, and et cetera. It's the only thing you can pretty much count on, their segment. And they're kind of mocking the amateur cast of community theater participants they're being surrounded with. But anyway, then they go to the entranceway. Dangerous place to be here tonight. And suddenly a fat gray-haired job guy. It looked like he was 50 years old. He looked like John Hitchcock, ran Parts Unknown, the comic store in Greensboro.
He still runs it.
Well, he doesn't look that way anymore. No, John's 5 or 10 years older than this guy now.
Well, maybe a few years more than that. This guy's an active wrestler.
He wasn't very active here. He was just getting a shit kicked out. They threw him out the tunnel, and here comes Claudio and Wheeler Useless, and they're beating him with a chair. And then the music starts for the Death Riders. And the music is playing in the arena, but the entrance video is on the screen. And 2 members are beating up a job guy for no reason with a chair on the entranceway when the camera cuts to the curtain at one of the breezeways. And you can see around the curtain where the Marina Schaefer's elbow, they're just standing there waiting for the cue, stock still. And suddenly the cue comes, and here comes the plumber out of the curtain and Schaefer behind him. And every single one of them are dressed like they're ready to go out and do yard work. And as they come to the ring and they get in the ring, the fans are sitting there talking to each other. The people next to them. And it doesn't get any better, because even if anybody was going to buy this Moxley promo business, he's talking about Orange Cassidy. And somebody, again, needs to give them the brutal but fair tough love talking to, that just because Tony's fascinated with this clown doesn't mean that anybody wants to see him in meaningful main event shit, especially after all this time. We've seen what there is to see. But Moxley is cutting a promo on him, as it's like anybody would care. And he's going to make an example of Orange Cassidy. He's going to brutalize him and mutilate him. And the fans are basically groaning when he says that. And then the room is so quiet. It's like, I don't know, it's like maybe it's an FFA convention, the Future Farmers of America, for you people up in New Jersey. And there's a speaker that they're not particularly interested in, so they're kind of murmuring to each other slowly, or lowly rather, but they're not making any noise that they can make on purpose. And suddenly one guy yells, "Go back to Roman!" And it was like, attaboy, Luther. It was like it was put into the goddamn soundtrack on purpose. It was perfect. I couldn't believe it. And then, so they're catcalling the baddest man on the planet. And then Pockets' music plays. And here he comes. And he comes out to the entranceway, the company mascot, followed by poor Mark Briscoe and Rocky Ramone. Rocky Romero.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Don't disparage Rocky Ramone like that.
Well, no, they're so close. And then Rocky Raccoon was out in the car with the motor running. And I swear to God, they are now letting the fucking mascot talk. And he cut one of the most lackluster promos ever in the wrestling business.
The delivery. It's the delivery. Hey, Jim. It's good to see you here. And I guess we're gonna wrestle. I guess there'll be a match. I guess so. Yeah. I mean, what is that?
He sounded like Ned Nebbish at a fantasy camp for wrestling. It's one of the fans gets to come out on the set and cut a wrestling promo, but this guy is some kind of fucking CPA that's, only had sex with his right hand, and he just doesn't have any personality. That's his personality. That's his gimmick that he's chosen for himself. Can you imagine what it would be like to try to talk to this motherfucker in person if that's the way he acts on television?
Well, do remember, never forget, at one point when there was some communication between, at one point word got back to us that Tony Khan wanted it to be known to you that if you would just talk to Jim, you would love him. Not you being Jim, but him being Jim, Orange Cassidy. If you would just talk to him, you would love him.
Yeah.
Hey, I understand you have a collection of stuff. Oh, yeah, wow.
If they would put him somewhere where he can only communicate via phone and not be on television, then I might like him better. But anyway, so he answers Moxley that he's going to stand up for all that's right in the world, and also challenged Useless for next week on TV and made some chess references. And Moxley answered him by saying on November 23rd, abandon all hope. Like this guy is goddamn, Mephistopheles himself.
Queen takes battleship.
And then they played music and they left. And I was like, wait a minute, that was taken over TBS. It's a live in-ring promo when they beat up a gray-haired fat job guy. But then...
I remember when Gene Okerlund used to take over TBS like this.
Yes, and you had to call the hotline to find out why. But then as the heels are leaving, Darby Allin appears on the top of the bleachers over the breezeway and dives off onto the heels, and everybody gets in a fight, and Moxley runs off. And then the camera goes to the back of the building, and Moxley and Marina Shafir get in the truck. But neither one of them apparently thought to get in the driver's seat. Claudio has to drive. So Claudio jumps in, and they're pulling out without a wheeler. But then Darby comes running from the side as the truck is moving and dives into the back of the pickup truck. So Claudio stops it and gets out, and they get in a fight, and Claudio big swings Darby into a garage door and jumps back in the truck, and then Wheeler runs and jumps into the truck just in time, and the heels pulled out. Jesus Christ. I mean, what in the... God. They think somehow that somebody somewhere is going to be interested in what happens between Plumber Moxley and Pockets. And the only people that even know the one guy exists on the planet are already watching this show, and they're going to be the last ones to leave. Because if you're a fan of Orange Cassidy, A, your standards are very low, and B, you're one of the die-hard, indie-rific wrestling fans that are going to watch an Outlaw Mud show above anything else till the bitter end. And that's what the end of this show will be, is bitter. Brian, your comments on this unfolding situation.
This was the big thing. It was like a classic MSG show. The main event right in the middle of the show. Mox takes over TBS. If you tuned in to see that, the way it was billed, you're disappointed. If you tuned in to hear Moxley finally explain anything, you were disappointed. No Pac. Did he go home again? I don't know where Pac was.
Maybe he missed the truck on the way down, like Wheeler missed it on the way back.
I guess, or maybe he was driving. That's a great way to write off someone who's not there that week. Oh, he's behind the wheel.
No, it was Claudio, because Claudio had to stop the truck to get out to fight the fucking rat that chased the cat.
This whole thing is fucking awful. It's death. That's why they're the Death Riders. It's death. We're going to ride death. Straight to death.
You know what? They misspelled it. It's Death Writers.
Is that what it is?
They are writing the death of the... They better be glad they got some guaranteed money. You know what their TV show has become? The world's biggest budgeted fair show. When you sold a fucking fair show to the county fair board, you guaranteed the money you knew exactly how much you were going to get, and you could just go and have fun and jack off. And didn't have to try to sell any tickets. It was all up to them.
This is going to really be big when Omega and the Bucks return to save AEW from Moxley and the crew that isn't over. We heard from people there. It was flat. That was the word used. Flat. The crowd didn't give a shit. I don't know if it was this match or this segment or somewhere else, but the fans were chanting OTC during this show. You asked about the attendance earlier.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
As of the morning of the show, Wednesday, November 13th, according to WrestleTix, 2,643 tickets distributed. Their last time in the market, November 16, 2022 for Dynamite, 3,141 at that time were distributed.
Well, and again, that's distributed. And I'm starting to wonder, because a lot of these people aren't reacting in some of these locations like they've got a lot of skin in the game. I'd like to know at some point what they're actually selling to people that are coming intentionally to try to have a good time, and the people that are coming to do whatever they're coming to do. And maybe just get some rest, get a good night's sleep, since it's so quiet in the building.
Well, that's right. And of course, this was only about halfway or a little more than halfway through Dynamite. But for a lot of people in certain parts of the country and the world, it was time for sleep, and you need a good mattress for a good night's sleep.
Boy, I'll tell you what, with this television program, sometimes you just want to go and hide under the bed. But either way, or either one.
Or neither. I don't know actually what point you're making.
Yes, I'll tell you what, whether you want to hide under the bed or get a good night's sleep, the best way to do it is with our friends at Helix Sleep. And I'm going to tell you something right now, Brian, you're going to find this hard to believe, that we are going to be able, because the holidays are coming up, we're going to be able to give the people, the Cult of Cornette members, a better deal than ever before at Helix Sleep because of this monumental holiday coming up. Guess what the discount is going to be? I'm just going to tease you. Guess what it's going to be?
5%.
You are incorrect, sir.
7.5%.
You're way off.
10%.
You're way too low. I'm not even going to prolong the agony. Folks, 25% off site-wide and 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase, and with any Luxe or Elite mattress collection order, you get a free bedding bundle, which is 2 dream pillows, a sheet set, and a mattress protector. And the mattress protector, very important for those of you out there with the various problems with incontinence and leakage and seepage. You want to keep this thing nice because they last so long. You can't be just pissing and pooping and everything on this mattress. It's going to last so long, it'll look like a goddamn tie-dyed superstar Billy Graham t-shirt by the time you're finished with it. So get that. But anyway, that's an amazing discount because Helix has been around with us forever. We've got Helixes, you and I, both of us, all through the house, Brian. You put your kids on them. I put my dog on them. I probably like my dog a little bit more than you like your kids.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, but nevertheless, we even put our wives on them. And that can run hot and cold depending on the fucking season. So, nevertheless, folks...
Divorce!
Yes, and yes, Kimosabi. But I'll tell you what. At Helix Sleep, they've got all the various mattresses that we've talked about, the Luxe collection, the Elite collection. They got the kids' mattresses. They got the mattresses for you if you like to sleep firm, or you like to sleep soft, or you like to sleep hot, or you like to sleep cold. However you like to sleep, including standing on your head, they will fix you up. But now, again, this offer, helixsleep.com/JCE, 25% off site-wide and 2 free. You know, the dream pillows, that's where you program it before you go to bed and lay your head down at night. What do I want to dream about? It's got the little dial has childhood, money, sex,
What are you
sports.
talking about? What are you
and
talking
you just
about?
set it and you lay your head down on the dream pillow, and that controls the subject of what you dream about at night. It's a revolutionary new technology.
It's a made-up technology that is not a part of this campaign from Helix Sleep. It exists nowhere that I know of, but your mattress can be there for you wherever you are. Tell them how to get it, Jim.
Well, that's right, and you don't have to take it wherever you go. You can get multiple mattresses, so you can go from one place to another. But you're not up on the new technology where they can now control your dreams. If you lay your head in this thing, it wraps around your ears and sends the signals in through your oral cavities, and you can dream about whatever you pick to dream about. And you can also block a few people as well.
Again, I don't know.
You get to pick 5 people that you can block from your dreams once you get your dream pillows.
Not from the, no, it has nothing to do with this. I don't know what you're promising or guaranteeing people here, but once again, Helix Sleep, let's wake up and tell everyone one more time, Jim, what's that promo code?
Wake up and go to sleep on your Helix Sleep mattress at helixsleep.com/JCE, 25% off site-wide, 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase, and if you get a Luxe Collection mattress or an Elite Collection mattress, a free bedding bundle, 2 pillows, a sheet set, and a mattress protect. And the sheets do not come with eye holes.
No eye holes for a-holes, but you can get a great mattress for you with Helix Sleep. Once again, /JC.
Well, there's a .com in the middle there, but I guess that goes without saying.
All right, we continue on with this fun Dynamite review. Of course, that was the main part of the show, but it's both uphill and downhill from here.
Well, that wasn't even the main part of the show. We've still got some big stuff to go now, because they're still going to break some more rules. We had an intermission. Britt Baker wrestled Penelope Pitstop. Remember when Britt Baker was over? You could hear a mouse pissing on cotton during this match, and it was 10 minutes long, bell to bell. And then nobody got beat up afterwards, but when Britt Baker won, then Serena Deeb came out carrying her flag to the entranceway, and they stared at each other. So there was some involvement here. And where did Deonna Purrazzo go?
She was drinking wine in some segment the last time I saw her. Serena Deeb got a flag.
She was, but Deonna Purrazzo was everywhere. And I just remembered she suddenly disappeared, and Serena has been gone, but now she's back. But anyway,
but again, to my steady criticism of the women's division, that I think people need to look past, that they don't want to hear it and pay attention. No one gets better working under these kind of conditions. These women are not going to get better at doing this, wrestling in front of a crowd that acts like they don't want to see the match.
They would rather see their mother hooked up to a machine.
They don't react. That's a negative audience reaction. If you're the bathroom break match every time, if you're the cause of the ratings going down every time, if people don't react at all, I mean, it's frighteningly silent. And then you talk to people there and they're like, oh yeah, it was really awkward. There's a problem.
Awkward.
There's a problem. Women's wrestling has a place, but just jamming it into these shows where no one's over already is not helping anything.
Well,
because it's not like Britt Baker is fucking Charlotte Flair or, even Mercedes Moné. Like, she doesn't have like a track record of being able to work matches in the ring. Like, she's had a few matches, like, the wild brawls that people kind of liked, but she also got hurt a lot. She doesn't seem to know a lot of the basics. She needs work too, but they just throw everyone out there for 10 minutes in front of a crowd that doesn't give a shit.
But that wasn't the women's segment that made more people comment or interact or whatever on the social interwebs. It was the interview that followed this presentation with, again, the only interviewer apparently they have now, Renee Moxley Good, who at some point anybody could just come up to her and say, "What the fuck is your husband talking about?"
Hey, Tony, fire her.
Yeah.
This
yeah,
guy's so out of control. Why are you rewarding him by hiring his wife? Fire her. Let's even the playing field a little bit.
But maybe she's told Tony, "Hey, I got to get away from this lunatic. Please let me keep my job. I don't have any control over him. I don't know what he's fucking talking about. Just let me keep my check so I can get a little apartment over in Newport." But anyway, Renee was in the back with old Mitsu Arakawa, who was dressed in a...
Oh, thank God you saw this segment.
Well, yes, I had to. I was going to fast forward it, but when I saw some of what was fast forwarding, I had to back it up and see how they got to that point.
Mina Shirakawa. She deserves to have her name said. Oh, this microphone just fell down. Mina Shirakawa. She deserves it. Say her name.
Apparently your boom is drooping over there.
It's a new mic.
She's wearing a tight top that accentuates her bosom. You got the cleavage out there, and she does a promo that I couldn't understand. And then Harley Cameron popped in and grabbed Mitsu Arakawa's champagne glass and drank her champagne, and then apparently choked on it. I don't fucking know what. She put the glass in her mouth and took the big swig.
She put the whole glass in her mouth.
Yes. Well, some people can put 5 ping pong balls in their mouth. But she put the whole glass in and turned it back and choked herself. Anyway, then she spoke, and she's not acting like Toni Storm now. It's even farther over the top than that. It's like she was doing Agnes Moorehead in a stage play. And
well, she was never acting like Toni Storm.
Well, it's the overacting. She's acting on you, and, and all the accentuation and the...
Well, no, clearly Harley Cameron wants to be a comedic performer.
Well, whatever. She's never done that before, but suddenly she's doing that. And she wants to fight Mitsu on Collision, tit for tit, rack 'em up, and may the breast woman win. And then they both stood
now, for the record, that was what they said, not what you said.
That's a quote. She said, "I want to fight you on Collision, tit for tit, rack 'em up, and may the breast woman win." And then they're standing on either side of Renee, and they both start shaking their tits from side to side in their cleavage-revealing apparel in a dueling tit-shaking frenzy.
Which Mina won, because Minas are natural, so they have a natural swing.
Oh, good Lord.
So I give the title to Mina.
What does
New world champion.
What does this have to do with the goddamn wrestling show? And if they're going to do that, we can watch Showtime and they don't have to have a top on. Wouldn't that be more entertaining?
I was watching this live and I couldn't, it's one of those things. Again, I'm fascinated. I can't look away, but I could recognize, just like Gene Okerlund talking to like Chuck Palumbo or something. Like this is WCW at the end kind of stuff. But when they both started shaking their tits to the camera, and they call them tits, so I'm going to call them tits.
Yes. Was tits not, or tit, or tits, I don't know if it's plural, not one of the not 7 deadly words. The 7 words you can't say on television, you can say it now, apparently.
Well, again, they start shaking their tits to the camera, and it goes on for a little while. Like there's Renee stops talking, so then it's just shaking. Both women like competing against each other, shaking for the camera. This is what AEW has become.
Is this the progressive
hey, it's honest. It's honest. It's the most honest women's stuff in wrestling right now, if you want to be fair about it.
What happened to the women's equality and the women's revolution? And Mercedes Moan helped propel the women to, so now she can work for the company where they have titty shaking contests going on. And if somebody said on Twitter, if the WWE had done that, these people would be all over them. And again, rightfully so, because it's, I don't care if it's demeaning to women, it's stupid to wrestling. But they did it. What? So you want to go on to the next match?
I do, but I'm curious to see what happens with that match. Did it happen? I don't even know. Did it happen yet? Where does it happen?
It's on Collision.
Oh boy, great.
They haven't collided yet. And apparently is Collision going to become the titty show where they have the titty fights?
Hey, listen, you want the ratings to go up? Be honest about it and make it the titty show.
And then what about when the one girl comes out and she's president of the itty bitty titty committee? Does she get sympathy because the other girl can easily bounce her around with her pneumatic protuberances?
See, now you've taken it a step too far. This is why you can't be a part of the writing team over at Big Titty Wrestling.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's over 1 million stories in the Big Titty, and this is just one of them.
Well, let's get from Titsamania back to AEW Dynamite.
Do you like boobs a lot, boobs a lot, boobs a lot? Yeah, so Swerve Strickland, with his, I would say manager, even friend, but now I'm not sure the way they presented him here, Prince Nana, against Leo Rush.
Can I say something?
Please do.
This was a star-making performance for Leo Rush.
Yes.
I watched this and I'm like, Leo Rush is fucking amazing. This Swerve guy sucks. Leo Rush rules. What a performance.
This match was the best match on the show, which makes it the worst match on the show because it killed off Swerve fucking Strickland. They're wiping their feet on him and Nana. And wasn't Leo Rush a babyface 2 weeks ago? We saw him do something sometime.
I want to say, yeah, I don't remember what he did, but I think he was a babyface. I think you're right.
Did he wrestle Shelton?
That's right. That's what it was.
Yes, and we said this was an exemplary match because Shelton gave him a few openings because he's a quick little thing. He's not quick, he's sudden, as Gordon Soley would say. And then he manhandled him because he's twice his size and he beat him convincingly. And it was a great piece of business.
That's right. Now Leo got his heat back against Swerve Strickland.
Well, I was about to say, so 2 weeks ago, Leo was a babyface. And now he comes out and he's a fucking heel against Swerve, who is going to be wrestling Bobby Lashley on pay-per-view coming up in 10 days. And he's going to have a warm-up match on TV against a guy that would need a step stool to clear a speed bump. And Leo Rush kicked the shit out of Swerve Strickland for a long, long time. They had fake promos on this show, fake matches, fake walls, fake booking. Swerve couldn't handle Leo. Leo, like you said, looked like the one they were pushing.
And the fans got into it.
Yes. But we'll never see Leo again, or if we do, somebody will beat him next week. But when Lashley gets a hold of a guy who can't beat a sixth grader, I fear for Swerve's safety. And again, the fans were into it because it was so preposterous. They started wanting Leo to fucking win. And finally, Swerve gave him some kind of fucked up move, 1, 2, 3. And that was everything that he had in him to beat Leo Rush. Is there nobody there to produce this guy? I would have fired Swerve Strickland for letting Leo Rush do that match. But again, what the fuck will Lashley do to this poor fellow? And then Swerve gets on the microphone and cuts a promo and called the town of Bridgeport, Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut. Right here in Stamford, Connecticut.
And they let him hear it.
The people booed the shit out of him. And then he called out Bobby Lashley, and here comes MVP and Bobby Lashley out in suits, and Lashley is a giant. He's Andre next to this roster. And MVP is trying to ask him if he wants a fight, just ask me. And he's starting to cut a promo, but the fans are still chanting, "This is Bridgeport." And they're not listening to MVP. But did Swerve, was he trying to do some kind of inside shoot interview, or did he really believe they were in Stamford, which is 20 or 30 miles and a completely different city?
Yeah, is it one of those things where he thinks like Stamford's the big city and like they just associate with the bigger city that's nearby?
I would think he'd be able to tell when there ain't no goddamn giant sports arena in Stamford like the one he's in Bridgeport.
Well, they made up for it. For the rest of the night, they made sure to say Bridgeport over and over and over again.
Oh my God. So anyway, the fans aren't listening to MVP because they're catcalling the babyface for not knowing the name of their fucking town. And I mean, it's a comedy of errors on this show. And then Bobby takes his jacket off and MVP says, well, Bobby's ready to fight, but Swerve, you ought to learn there's strength in numbers. And Shelton's in the ring from behind and he levels Swerve. And then again, Nana had to stand in the corner and do nothing. He's just stood in the turnbuckles, backed up, scared. He's a baby face now. And
2 weeks ago, or however long ago, he did a promo where he said, I used to be a wrestler.
Yes, well, that don't look fucking particularly accurate either at this point. Because Bobby then is beating up Swerve on the floor, but Shelton has just backed Nana in the corner, and Nana's doing that kind of don't hurt me type of thing, and Shelton's just standing there. If you're going to be a babyface manager, yes, the idea is the heel manager is a coward and a chicken shit and can't whip anybody and is physically ineffectual unless he's got a weapon or a club or he's behind the guy or whatever. But when you become a babyface, you have to change slightly the psychology in that maybe the heel should say if you punch them or you kick them or they should sell you a little bit more than they would have if you were a heel. But you're still not a badass or an ass kicker, but you have to try. Your guys are your friends. And you have, as a grown adult man, you have to try to do something and fail, but at least you tried to stop the abuse of your guy. And when they're walking through this or they're talking over it or they're in some kind of finish meeting or however they're doing things over there, I can't understand why Nana doesn't bring it up, and I can't understand why the producers, if they exist, don't bring it up. Let him try to do something, be wiped out, take a bump, and sell it. But then you have made the people feel somewhat sorry for Nana because at least he tried. Now, it looks like Nana is a coward and doesn't give a shit about Swerve enough to even take a swing at a guy that's kicking the shit out of him. And then, at one point, they got Bobby back in the ring. Nana started to just get out and leave his guy there. And MVP grabbed him and pulled him back in and choked him with the cane because MVP realizes what it's like to be a manager. And he's trying to help, keep him occupied, give him something. And their MVP is an exception to the rule in that a former wrestler who becomes a manager doesn't have to be completely physically ineffectual, because they've seen that he can take care of himself and he can do shit. But even that, when that former wrestler is a heel, he is still not able to one-on-one kick the shit out of the babyface wrestler, but he can certainly use a gimmick on a babyface manager. There's a pecking order here that makes sense so you don't bury anybody. Or the fans say, well, fuck Nana. He won't even try to help. So then Sheldon and Bobby beat up Swerve, and Bobby hurt locked him and put him out. And while the heel is putting the babyface out with the goddamn hurt lock, the fans are chanting, Bridgeport, Bridgeport. And finally, Lashley did grab Nana, and they scheduled him apparently to take a bump, and he ran him through the turnbuckles to the floor, and it was kind of an odd bump. He got hung a little bit on one foot, but it looked awkward, but in a painful way. But in the meantime, they scheduled that the manager bump in this instance doesn't come last. You do that, and then you put the main event former ex-world champion babyface out with the fuck of your finish hold, and that's the point you leave with. It just, everything's backwards and upside down, and they're cheering the heels and booing the baby faces and chanting the name of their town while the baby face is getting, prison sodomized.
And that was almost YouTube appropriate, so I commend you for that, sir.
Well, thank you.
Leo Rush is a star. I always say he's one of my favorite guys. He shows up and then he disappears. Like those classic guys when you were a tape trader. Like, oh, any footage I can get of this guy. He's never around too long. That's him. And he can do promos and he can get heat. And he can work an entertaining match that makes sense for a little guy. And Swerve looks like shit again.
Yeah.
Nana is like a non-entity. He's like Paul Ellering is a manager. He's a non-entity. No, Ellering took a bump. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the fans still think Bobby Lashley's a star. You just got to get more fans into these buildings. And, if you get people in, if you're giving out free tickets to people to sell them on your product, and then this is overall show-wide, taping-wide, what you give them, don't be surprised by the reaction you're getting.
Normally these days with the world the way it is, people come into an arena, they go through a metal detector. Do you think they ought to have somebody checking the AEW crowd for rotten vegetables?
We're getting to that point. Another 20-minute Osprey Fletcher Shakespearean scene. I lived with you. You know where my child goes to school. What? What's he going to do to your kid?
That...
Or the school?
Except for the fact that Osprey mentioned his wife, the same verbiage could have been used through that whole promo for a romantic relationship gone wrong.
Well,
but anyway,
that was Dynamite. I was going to say
no, it wasn't. We're not done yet.
Oh, really?
Because remember the mini movie.
Oh,
with Julia Hart.
Yeah, I did see that.
I was fast forwarding through a break, and I thought this was a commercial, and about halfway through it, I again recognized it was Julia Hart, so I went back. And they're doing a promo with Jamie Hayter, and suddenly it cuts off just in mid-sentence. And then a video of Julia Hart in bed. Unfortunately, she was dressed, but she wakes up, and there's blood on her shirt. And then the phone rings beside the bed. And she picks it up.
That was the front cover of Please Kill Me, the blood over the chest like that.
Please Kill Me. What is that?
The book, the famous, fantastic oral history of punk.
Oh, I thought it was actually just Please Kill Me so I don't have to watch the rest of this TV show.
Oh, no, that's different.
Well, she sits up in bed and she answers the phone, which is an old-fashioned rotary dial phone, and a voice says, Julia, it's time to come home. And she says, Brody? I guess it's Brody King. But then she sees that the phone cord is cut, and there's no way that somebody could have called her, and she hangs up real scared. Now, this is reminiscent of one of those bad teen horror movies from the late 70s called Don't Answer the Phone, about the babysitters in the house and the phone calls start coming. Don't Answer the Phone was also known as Don't See the Movie because it was rotten. Well, she runs into the bathroom and looks in the mirror and screams and talks to herself, and a red light comes on from behind her, behind a door, and she opens the door and someone hands her her hat. And it goes to black. Do all of these eggheads think that they're the next Tarantino, and just because they can do all this fucking high def video quality shit with their phone means that it also is content is good too? What the fuck is this horse shit?
I don't like it. I never like it, no matter what company does it. And this specifically is just ridiculous. It's a scene. And every time you think the House of Black gets past themselves enough to kind of work, like they've been on the show and haven't done anything too spooky, then this just happens to be a cameraman, the fearless cameraman, back again in this.
Well, hey, I wouldn't be scared of being in Julia Hart's bedroom while she was asleep in bed in the dark. Well, if she had blood on her, I might,
She had blood over her heart, like someone stabbed her in the chest. What the hell was going on there?
Well, I'd be more than happy to suck the poison out.
Because that was the photo. It's a photo of the band The Heartbreakers, and it was supposed to be that their heart, like, exploded. That was the photo.
What age group? What age group?
I don't know.
What age group would you have to be to know what you just said? Because I've never heard of any of this.
That book was a very good seller.
Well,
I can't say bestseller, I don't think. But
so was the goddamn House of the Seven Gables in 1872 or whatever. But who would be the audience that would know this reference, this obscure reference?
I think
or do they want anybody to know it? They want people to think they invented it.
Well, no, I don't think they want anyone to recognize the influence of where it came from, but I'm just bringing it up to you because I'm here to inform you.
Because you know.
Because I know. And knowing is half the battle.
So then, speaking of half the battle, we get Malachi Black and Brody King in a tag team match without Buddy Matthews. They were referred to as the Kings of the Black Throne. So has the House of Black opened a subsidiary to where they're all in the House of Black, but these two are the Kings of the Black Throne, or are they just changing that whole gimmick?
I think they've done this before. When these two team up, that's their name. But they're still members of that. They honor the House of Black with their matches.
They honored us with their presence in the main event against FTR. With Private Party watching in the entranceway. Remember when FTR's entrances brought the house down? People heard the music and they popped and they stood up and they really cheered for these guys because they had great matches with the Briscoe brothers and with Gin and Juice, the best tag team match on television of modern times. And they just they were with Punk. They were outperforming everybody. He had something. And then that got botched like everything else. And now they wander out. And the entrance used to bring the house down, and this entrance brought the house down. And it had already flatlined to begin with.
It used to bring the house down. There used to be a house.
Well, yeah, there was something erect for you two. But nevertheless, so the winner of this match is going to face Private Party and the Outrunners and some other team that they're going to determine later on in a 4-way at the pay-per-view to determine who gets a shot at the So, again, FTR, most talented in-ring wrestlers on the show. They've been booked into oblivion. And they were out there doing arm drags and having a wrestling match after the fans had seen 17 attempted murders and a couple of episodes of aggravated mayhem. And then they went to a break. Again, every facet of this program, it just something is off, from the fake walls to the booking to the talent to the... They went to break at 2 minutes until 10 o'clock. So when 10 o'clock came in and people theoretically would tune in for the next program and they have an overrun they try to get a bounce off of, the people that tuned in at 10 o'clock saw a commercial with a picture-in-picture box of some kind of random wrestling with no audio. They couldn't have gone to break 2 minutes earlier, 1 minute earlier? What? When we go over the ratings, let's see what 10 o'clock did. And then they came back and Malachi Black tagged Brody King, and Brody King made what looked like a comeback. And I'm like, who are the fucking heels here? And then Brody King is like they cloned every fat tattooed indie guy in the business, and he's doing all the same moves. And so finally, I fast forwarded about 5 minutes because at this, I couldn't take it anymore, this whole show. Finally, the finish was FTR Spike pile drove Malachi Black on the apron of the ring. But then Brody King dove through the ropes on both of them. He clotheslined Dax and got a 2 count. Clotheslined him again and got a 2 count. So then he just grabbed him in the sleeper and choked him out standing up. And I'm like, God damn it. Can the finishes get any worse? And then Malachi Black, the guy that had just been Spike pile driven on the apron of the ring, got up and walked into the ring to get his hand raised while the 2 guys who gave him the pile driver were laying there up flat of their fucking ass. And then, who I thought was the heels, pull FTR up to their feet and they all shake hands. And that was the end of the pro. So we saw mayhem and carnage for 2 hours and 10 minutes. And then finally at the end of the thing, they just beat these guys as flat as you can beat anybody and then kindly pull them up and shake their hands. What? I'm over the show, Brian. Wrap it up.
Hey, listen, it's a bad show. And this was quite the choice of finish here. I guess they want to get the Kings of the Black Throne over to that next level, that private party level. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, and FTR have lost all their luster. And it was predictable, but it happened. And, you know, the tag team division remains what it has been.
But this show continues to travel down some kind of weird pathway to where you could everybody just gets to do their own. They're all making their own movie in their head. But instead of trying to convince people that they're mad at somebody and they're going to have a fight, they're all actors. They're all cinematographers. They're all directors. They're all performers and artistes and
with a friendly financier. A friendly financier.
A friendly financier. And I mean, it's Drek. There's nobody to stop them and say, what the fuck are you people doing over here? And again, all of the people that say, well, they're all jealous because they're making so much money because Uncle Dave says they're going to make $250 million. I'm not saying they're not getting paid for this show. I'm saying the show is not any fucking good. And it's going to get worse if they don't do something.
Yeah, and the last thing you want is the story to become, wow, they got all this money for that deal, and the ratings keep going down. There's no audience.
McDonald's is worth $40 billion, and they make a fucking fortune. Go try to eat one of their chicken nuggets. Is it any good? Fuck no.
You don't like Chicken McNuggets?
Not anymore. I don't. All of the fast food places have gone to hell, but you finding a good McDonald's is like trying to find fucking good booking in the middle of AEW Dynamite. They're few and far between these days. It depends on your individual franchisee and who they hire as the manager. Because there's a wide range. As a matter of fact, do you know where the best Wendy's restaurant in the United States of America used to be located?
Somewhere in Kentucky, let me guess.
Middlesboro, Kentucky.
I never would have guessed.
Right on Highway 23 as you're going from Tennessee across the Kentucky state line is on the left-hand side, and I would starve myself until I could get there if I knew I was going past that. It was the best Wendy's, the most efficient drive-through, the hottest food, the most incredible service. Everything was perfect. Middlesboro, and think how many Wendy's I've been to all across the country.
What was it? What was the intangible or intangibles that made it?
I think that they found a manager there at that location that decided he was going to be the next Dave Thomas, and he just went the extra mile. And they had Oh, and when Wendy's, this was 1992, 3, 4, 5, that era, when they just had regular plain buns, this place had the big puffy bakery buns that held all of the triple cheese goodness in even better so you could eat it in the car easier.
Triple cheese.
And they were always toasted just right. Triple cheese, extra cheese, mayonnaise, pickle, onion, large fry, and a big old Sprite right there in Middlesboro. That would get you on to the...
How far is that from you?
It was to go, well, I went there a lot because that was the way, that was the route to go to either Pikeville or Paintsville or all of those towns in eastern Kentucky. It was about 2 hours to get up there, but you were going through there all the time.
So you haven't been there in a long time. You don't know if it's still the...
Oh, I'm sure it's gone to complete shit now.
The pride of the Wendy's chain.
Yeah, no, because, well, and unless they've completely flouted all tradition and all instructions from the corporate office and not done these horrible fucking non-smashed burgers now and changed the pickles and changed everything about and the horrible French fries. If they've gone against all of that and just did what they were doing 30 years ago, they'd be fine, but I'm sure they haven't. Now you had to get me in a bad mood.
You know, that Buddy Matthews looks like Wendy.
What?
No? Red hair?
No.
All right. Well, I guess it's time. We can't delay it any longer.
Did anybody watch this off-brand AEW program that was insulting to our eyes and ears that was held on November 13th?
We're going to talk about the ratings, but we mentioned it earlier. In the middle of the show, you may have felt the urge to go to bed. It's a long show. It's a long 2 hours. It's one of those very long 2-hour shows.
It's long. You can grow a beard
in the time
it takes to watch this thing.
Hey, if you went to bed around the 9 o'clock hour, let's say you woke up from your nap around 10, you may say, hey, I need a shave. I need to look fresh for the night.
Fresh for the night? Well, you're fresh for the morning and get a jump on it. Folks, there's never anything wrong with being prepared. Maybe at some point somebody's going to be screaming at you first thing in the morning and roust you out of bed and tell you to get to fucking work and you're not going to have time to shave. So take care of it the night before. But I'll tell you what you can do now that Harry's, it's the holiday season, and our friends over at Harry's that we've been talking about so lovingly that produce the fine quality shaving equipment and shaving supplies and shaving experiences all the way around, they don't just have the trial set on sale at a ridiculously low price now. They have a gift set. And it's for the holidays, but it's for you or anybody that you... Let's say you're a man. Let's just pretend that, Brian. You're a man. And you want to shave your face. And you don't want to shave your face with one of these cheap plastic disposable things that the blades pull every whisker out individually to your everlasting dismay and scarf up your face and you get the road rash and you look like you got the heartbreak of psoriasis all over your face. That's using cheap stuff. Now, cheap and inexpensive are two different things because Harry's is inexpensive, but it ain't cheap, baby. Because they've got German-engineered blades made in Harry's own factory. He installed it in his basement. He's down there every morning. They stay sharp longer for a smooth shave every time, and the ergonomically designed razor handle that is also weighted. So, Brian, you get exercise while you're shaving. Every time you're shaving with that 17-pound weighted razor handle, you're doing curls. Just make sure that you shave equally with your left arm and your right arm, or elsewise you'll look like Quagmire after he discovered internet porn.
Well, if you were a man, you'd be working out like a man.
Well, you can work out like a man while smelling like a woman. And that's another thing that Harry's has. That was an old commercial for a deodorant. Strong enough for a man, but made for a woman. But Harry's has richly lathering, skin-softening body wash and scents like redwood, wildlands, and stone. And also old farm field and dead goat carcass.
No, why would anyone even want that? No.
Well, it comes with the farm. Boy, they've got extra strength, high quality, amazing smelling deodorant that's very inexpensive as well. But basically, if you're a woman that wants to make sure that the man in your life doesn't have all this swamp foliage all over his face where every time he eats chicken noodle soup, there's bits of carrot falling out for 3 or 4 days out of his hair strainer. You want to get that shit right down to the bone there and make it nice and slick so he can go boom down there. Or if you're a man that wants to give a gift.
Yeah, what? Keep going.
Give a gift for yourself or anyone else. Give the gift of a smooth face. Harry's has a holiday. What?
No, keep going.
Well, some people like to have a smooth face on their significant other.
Oh, you know what that means? Harry wants you to get to the point.
Yes, get to the point. Harry's has a holiday craft set. It includes one of the craft handles, the ergonomically designed handles, 2 extra blades, your choice of foaming shave gel or shave cream, a travel blade cover, and you don't have to gift wrap it because the set comes in a rich, sleek green gift box that will stand out. People be walking down the street saying, "What's that big green thing?" And you can personalize the razor with the available engraving options. I chose them to engrave one of those, well, the gargoyles that you see on those Victorian buildings. They engraved one of them on my blade handle, but you can get whatever you want engraved. There's a variety of available options. Yeah. And it's 100% money back guarantee. And if you order by December 12th, you're going to get your holiday craft set by Christmas, which is what we're all hoping for. So you can do it and get 50% off, half price. Again, the craft set, the custom green gift box, and the free handle engraving. And maybe it's you want a nude woman, they'll carve it right in there. Harrys.com/JCE. Harrys.com/JCE. 50% off Harry's holiday craft set in the green box. And it's a pleasing green. Did you get your green box yet?
I have not received my green box from Harry's yet, no.
Well, you better fucking call before December 12th. You're not going to get it before Christmas.
Well, I will do that. That's Harry's. One more time. What is that promo code? What is that website address? Hello, lady. Hello. What are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about getting your shit shaved off by Harrys.com/JCE. 50% off the holiday craft set containing the razor, the handle, the heads, the blades, the shave gel, the shave cream. Might be some whipped cream in there also. Might curdle on the way to you, and also the engraving. You got that going for you. But do not leave this razor where you commit a crime with it. If you cut somebody's throat with it, don't leave it laying around.
Do not. Well, we're at the end of the goddamn spot. Why do you have to take it too far? You're not going to go too far. You're going to go right to the line with Harry's.
Well, your initials are on it, so you're leaving evidence. So don't leave this laying around if you commit a crime.
This is not a flick knife, but once again, harrys.com/JCE slash your way through.
Slash your way through life. Harry!
Well, let's get from the holiday craft to the holiday crap. Let's go to the AEW Dynamite ratings here, Jim.
How low can you go?
Just because we've been mentioning it lately, although NXT was back on their normal night. NXT on Tuesday, November 12th, 8 to 10 p.m., CW, 631,000 viewers. AEW Dynamite.
Very comparable to last week. I'm sorry.
AEW Dynamite, Wednesday, November 14th, TBS, 8 to 10:09 p.m. On average, watched by 666,000 viewers.
Woo! The mark of the beast, and they have gotten a big boost, a big comeback. For what?
Think about what you're saying. You're saying 666 is a big comeback.
Well, last week it was 500 and whatever the fuck, wasn't it?
Last week was 523.
Yeah. So,
actually, this is a big one. The trailing 4-week average is 605.
Yeah. They've made a big comeback here to the level that NXT was at when they were laughing at NXT for having putrid ratings and they were beating them.
Well, let's go to the quarter hours. These were compiled by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Jay White and Juice Robinson versus Christian Cage and Hangman Adam Page. 775,000 viewers.
Okay, this is intriguing because I was thinking that they were going to start out with a massive number and then drop like a stone from there, but they're not really that massive at the end. So to make this average, is this another one of those programs where for the kind of people who like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing these people liked?
Well, we shall find out. Quarter 2, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The Mercedes Moné Camille Chris Statlander backstage angle with a fake wall, an ad break, and the start of Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher's live promo. 649,000 viewers.
Oh, good Lord. So that's 126,000 people, and they've got to go up or they can't go down consistently from there. They won't make their average.
Well, quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The continuation of the Osprey Fletcher promo, now including Mark Davis, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, and Brian Cage, which leads into Roderick Strong versus Lance Archer, no holds barred or whatever it was.
Falls count anywhere.
With picture-in-picture ads. Followed by Konosuke Takeshita's live angle, followed by Adam Cole versus Takeshita. 683,000 viewers.
Okay, so they had to make sure that they were safe from the Mercedes effect before they came back, and they gained 34,000.
We go to quarter 4 now, 8:45 to 9 p.m. Adam Cole versus Konosuke Takeshita with picture-in-picture ads. The post-match with Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly and Ricochet. The Death Riders backstage angle, an ad break. MVP Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin's backstage angle. What was their backstage angle?
It's a promo. And that's another thing. By the way, I don't mean to go off on a tangent here. And I understand that everybody gets the terminology they see on the internet, but it's not an angle if you just have a promo, or even if somebody comes into your promo and says something to you, that's not a fucking angle. An angle is a happening or an instance that is designed to heat up a goddamn rivalry or bad feelings between two entities. And it's not just every goddamn interview that ever takes place. Go ahead.
Well, where were we? I don't even know.
Oh, quarter 4. We were about to find out what that was.
665,000 viewers.
Okay, and they went back down. There went another 18,000.
We go now to quarter 5, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The Death Riders JD Drake ramp angle. Orange Cassidy and John...
That's a ramp angle where they throw a guy that we never see and probably won't see ever again out on the fucking stage and hit him 4 or 5 times with a chair. That's not an angle.
The Orange Cassidy John Moxley live confrontation, an angle with the Death Riders and the Conglomeration and Darby Allin. Oh, and you skipped the next thing, one of the worst things I've seen. Followed by the Learning Trees backstage promo.
Oh, shit, I forgot about that. Did we skip over that? I must have flipped the page.
719,000 viewers.
Holy shit, how did they do it? Top of the second hour, but...
I take over TBS. Movies for guys who like Moxley.
So the people believed he was going to do some kind of major thing, and they tune in to see it. He does a live interview, and he runs out of the building.
I'm taking over. I'm going to go crazy. Hey, where's that Joe Bob Briggs? I like him. I used to like him.
So they started at 775. They went in the 600s for the rest of the first hour. Now they're back up to 719 for the top of the second hour. Where do they go from here?
They go to quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The Britt Baker-Penelope Ford match with picture-in-picture ads. The post-match with Serena Deeb. the Mina Shirakawa Harley Cameron backstage angle. Angle. That's an angle.
That's an angle. Right.
Oh, hold on. That was the most ridiculous thing ever.
I'm surprised somebody didn't get a black eye off of that fucking thing.
Followed by Leo Rush versus Swerve Strickland, or the start of it. 678,000 viewers.
And they're back to, about where they were in the middle of hour one. So this has not been a train wreck as far as starting big and dropping precipitously. It's just a smaller audience overall than they used to have.
Well, we continue to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Leo Rush Swerve Strickland match continues with picture-in-picture and full-screen ads.
I hope Swerve's going to be okay. That was a hell of an ass-kicking.
The post-match angle with Swerve Strickland, MVP, Bobby Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin. 621,000 viewers.
Ugh. That's another 57,000. That's a low point of the show, and you can tell that there is some fatigue beginning to set in from just how much more can they see.
You know, it's one of those things, just a real quick break here before we get to the end, with Swerve Strickland. You know, when people make a big deal out of his contract and how much money he's getting, that's one of the things you look at. His stuff with Danielson, we talked about it a lot when talking about Danielson, but Swerve's involved. The numbers go down. They're not going up.
Well, because remember, the people started liking him on their own when he was a dastardly home-invading heel and started cheering him and chanting for him and just carrying him out of the building on their shoulders. And as soon as they went with that, they beat him and made him look like a feckless putz for so long that I think now, besides the cool thing, whose house, Swerve's house, they'll do that if it's in front of them, but they don't want to spend a lot of money to go to Swerve's house.
Well, we go to quarter 8. I remind you we have an overrun. 9:45 to 10 p.m. The Jamie Hayter promo into the Julia Hart video. An ad break. The beginning of FTR versus the House of Black with picture-in-picture ads. 597,000 viewers.
Ouch.
9-minute overrun. Continuation of FTR versus House of Black. Post-match with Private Party. 567,000 viewers.
Well, and remember I mentioned that they were at 10 o'clock, top of the hour, they were in break, so they lost 30,000 people for the overrun. So that negatively affected them rather than positively. So they started at 775 and they ended up at 567, which is 208,000 viewers, but that's not as big a percentage as they usually lose. So this program would have to be deemed a ratings success by their standards. Just an artistic abomination.
Well, there it is, the abomination known as Dynamite.